Ladies and gentlemen, now today we actually got a good response from the Strongest Hero devs, and I'm really happy that we've kind of got to the start of this point. I think it took everything yesterday and everything that's gone down in the last week and a bit to get there. And I was saying 3 weeks ago, man, you know, when I was talking about like 5 reasons this game is dying and how frustration is building up in the community, how I didn't want it to get to this point, because this point is always very, very messy. And if they had just done the right thing weeks ago and started kind of listening to feedback and not continually fucking over global, then it wouldn't have needed to get to this point. And this is the thing to learn for like any future gacha devs, man, is don't fuck over your community in the first 30 days of the game, because people can mass refund and just quit the game and you're just gonna fuck yourself over. So it's a very, very valuable lesson to be learned, but I think it has been learned yesterday. Literally, the store got absolutely bombed. I think it like peaked in the lows around like 1.5 to 1.7 in terms of overall rating. There were like 30,000 to 50,000 one-star reviews. It was one of the biggest and quickest review bombs that I've ever seen. And I like didn't specifically call for 1-star review bombs or anything, man. So I could have really rallied this up if I got like the main channel involved and everything, because you know they love a little bit of drama as well, man. But yeah, it could have been bombed so much harder than this. Like this is a bit of a small bomb in comparison to the level that it could have gone to. But I think it was enough noise along with the refunds as well, to really get the attention of the right people. The people at Sony, the people in charge of the IP of My Hero Academia, the game developers themselves from the Taiwanese version, because when it comes to global translations, it's mainly like a marketing sales team, some people that know a little bit about the game that kind of making these decisions on how to balance and monetize the game, generally speaking. Again, I don't know the exact setup, but essentially what yesterday did was give them a fucking big old wake-up call, man. The phone must have been ringing non-stop from Google about the refund situation, Sony execs, people wondering how this situation reflects on the brand of My Hero Academia as well. And this was the situation that needed to transpire to kind of start getting these results out of the developers, to really make them aware that, look, you are building up mountains and mountains of frustration in the players that are playing this game in many different avenues. Free-to-play players you've given such a bad experience to, like the first few days playing a quite enjoyable and euphoric, playing around with all the characters, quickly progressing in the story, but then very soon after that you hit the energy wall, and then after that you kind of reach the Izawa panic. And one situation a lot of players had as well shortly after the launch of global, especially if they are free to play, is the release of the All Might banner. You know, they wanted to get Izawa, they're spending a lot of coins trying to get stamina to get characters up to level 80 and kind of get themselves up to level 37 as well. And then when it came to the All Might banner, they'd have about you know, 4 to 6 multis, and if they didn't get lucky on that banner, they didn't pull All Might, and it just felt really, really bad. And then also if they didn't get lucky as well on like that banner or like general summons, you also didn't get Izawa. So you had kind of this big frustrated group of people that then on top of that, you got to Endeavor, and maybe they had filled up like the majority of the pity, they saved up a few more summons, they got to the guaranteed, they finally got Endeavor, figured out he was nerfed as well, and then on top of that, you screwed over the spenders by like nerfing Endeavor, nerfing the support cards. Like everything in this game is heavily monetized, very, very pricey as well for massive whales. Like it's 12 copies of a character to fully max it out. There's a lot of stuff that is just you know, constantly built up frustration and made a bad experience for those people who aren't spending, and also a bad experience for those people who are spending as well. And the people that are spending money on this game, generally speaking, when you talk about like what they're thinking is for the future, a lot of people spend money on a game that they think is going to run for years and years, that they want to play for a long time. And if the whales see that, like, you know, 50 to 90% of free-to-play players are quitting and just going, fuck this game, then, you know, nobody wants to be like the biggest megalodon and the best player in a game that like 10 people are playing. And I know hundreds and hundreds of whales. I've been in massive whale guilds and Seven Deadly Sins, Marvel Contests of Champions. I have very personal relationships with a lot of the biggest whales that literally spend tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands like every single year on mobile video games. I know how these guys think, I know how these guys act, and literally like 9 out of 10 whales spend spend on mobile video games for the big flex. They want the shiny characters, they want the big old damage as well, they just want ridiculous stuff, and they have that massive surplus of disposable income that they just don't care about spending like tens of thousands of dollars on a game. But no whale wants to like heavily invest a lot of money if there's like nobody to flex on, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just saying, man, from my personal experience and the people I know and the people I've played with, like a lot of the biggest flexers out there, man, you know, are just massive whales that have far too much money. But again, they want people to flex on as well, and if you don't kind of balance it out and have that well-rounded community, then you're going to lose the free-to-play players, and if you do that, you lose the whales as well, and then the community just collapses. So you need to have a good balance moving forward. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Let's talk about the Endeavor refund situation, and also what I believe they need to do moving forward to get those 5-star reviews back, and also get the players back as well. Because of the result of some of these events, there are already thousands of players that have put down this game and just gone, fuck it, I'm never touching that again with a 10-foot barge pole, and you really need to earn kind of the trust and confidence back if you want to get those players back, if you want to get those spenders back, and if you want to continue making a decent amount of money. So in regards to the Endeavor situation, they are refunding all Endeavor summons. So throughout the duration of this event, so all players that have unlocked or unlock Endeavor get all of their summons refunded. So any summons I believe that you do from now till the end of the banner are still included in this time period. The exact same thing with the support card banner as well. So essentially, you know, as many coins as you can chuck in are going to be refunded, and you get event tickets correlated to the amount of summons you do at the end of this event. So you don't get refunded until the Endeavor banner goes away. But yeah, this is a really good way to handle the situation, especially considering that one, Endeavor himself is nerfed in comparison to the Taiwanese version, and number two, the support cards were falsely advertised. So fully refunding both of these, I think, is the appropriate and right thing to do there. And if they come out with this response a little bit earlier yesterday, or, you know, like 24 hours or a few hours after the banner, and had just done like the right thing off the bat, again, it would have been like a very different reaction and a very different situation there. There's also going to be 10 free Endeavor summons that are arriving today. They actually just arrived on the European version. I'm actually not too sure when they're going to arrive on the American version, but expect a little bit later today. So yeah, 10 free summons on that banner. So even if you're free to play, you got like 10 summons from the login calendar, plus these 10, plus like a few free hero coins that have been given out as well. So it should be, if you're doing like all of the summons on the Endeavor banner, about like, I would assume about 40 to 60 summons overall that you get on that banner, plus get refunded as well, I think, throughout the duration of it, because again, it's still got like another week and a bit going. So yeah, that's a pretty good time there. So there's also going to be additional hero coins, stamina, and food coming in the game as well on top of that. And they go on to say this has required careful consideration as we want to be sure players are able to enjoy the game for a long time in the future, and that we are able to support such a large refund program. We know we disappointed a number of you, and we are committed to improving the game and events in the future. And I think for like a first step, this is like a pretty big step, man, because they could have just gone, you know what, screw you guys, we're moving forward. To be honest, with the situation they were in, I mean, that would have just like instantly like killed the game 100% for the future. But I think this was the right thing to do. Again, they do want to entice people to like spend a little bit more in Endeavor and its cards as well, knowing that they are going to get like fully refunded for the next banner. So that's a little bit of an incentive to be like, okay guys, we're sorry. It's a bit of like a buy one get one free on Endeavor now, because anything you do summon is going to be refunded at the end of the period, and you get those summons on the next banner as well. I think this is a really good start, but I don't think this fixes everything that was kind of building up the frustration, because the Endeavor event is kind of just a catalyst for the frustration that was building up for weeks beforehand, the stuff that we talked about at the start of the video. And I think those issues need to be addressed and resolved if the game wants to move forward, and they want to get those 5-star reviews back, and they want to gain the trust of the players back as well, that hey, you know, they are in it for the long term, they want to make positive changes, and they do want to provide fair and balanced experience for free-to-play players and also spenders. So I've written down a few points that I think they need to address moving forward. And the first one is a commitment to better communication moving forward. I think a roadmap of content and changes should be provided at least a month in advance. Games like 7 Deadly Sins do this very, very regularly as well. Also, full abilities and talents for new characters to be released on a forum 24 hours before a new character goes on sale, and any significant changes from the Taiwanese version to be highlighted. Now, Marvel Contest of Champions, they'll list full character abilities about a week or two before they go on sale, and 7 Deadly Sins usually do it slightly before or at the time of sale as well, but they also don't change characters from their Japanese version. But yeah, it's really important for anybody that's going to spend money and summon on these characters, that they're fully made aware of any significant changes from the Taiwanese version. So yeah, I think that's very, very important, but we just need a better line of communication. We need a forum, a dev blog website, something like that, where there's an official channel of developer communication, because the tweets with this very basic background aren't the most professional thing out there, at least in my opinion. So yeah, there are some great examples from 7 Deadly Sins, Marvel Contest of Champions, but I think a better channel of developer communication is very much needed as soon as possible. Also, one thing I think is very important is the featured hero banner pity reduced to 60. So on the Taiwanese version, it's 60. On the global version, it's 100. And as somebody that has massively wailed out on a few feature banners now, 100 is savage, man. It's really, really depressing to go 100, especially considering the current lack of coins, and also the massive price tag associated with summons as well. And again, this game has a structure that requires 12 copies of a character. If you want a triple S plus that character, you need a ridiculous amount of summons. Currently on average, it's about $2,000 to triple S plus a character, not factoring in stuff cards as well, upgrading cards. You got chip upgrades, you got talents as well, which are a massive investment. There's also a few other things on top of that as well, but the big thing is there are so many monetization systems in this game that I think having the 100 pity is just a ridiculous cash grab and just a very unnecessary change from the Taiwanese version. And I think that's a really big thing for a lot of players as well. We want to see a fair pity in this game, especially considering that you've made the shard system require 12 copies to fully max out a character. Just absolutely insane. Now, the next thing is relating to the Izawa frustration, which we've already seen a lot of it on global, and I think it would go a long way with the free-to-play community if you sent every single player 20 Izawa shards, because anybody that was active in this event was either 10 or 20 shards off, and they couldn't really do much about it. My free-to-play account, I was grinding every single day, but because I didn't get lucky on one specific character, I didn't have any characters at double S, so I could get the final one done. So I know there are so many players right now that work so hard in the first couple of weeks of playing the game, but just due to bad RNG and bad luck, they couldn't get Izawa, and this is a very frustrating point. And I think for the future as well, the Izawa event being so limited and so timed is actually just a really bad way to structure the start to a new mobile video game that's meant to be exciting, because what this does is it just frustrates and angers a lot of players. And if you don't believe me, you can check Reddit, you can check your store reviews at the moment. There are so many people that got massively pissed off because they felt like they got baited into the whole situation with Izawa, where they were led to believe if they played the game and grinded the game, they could get him guaranteed, but just due to the fact that they got ridiculously unlucky or a little bit unlucky, they just couldn't get Izawa. So I think the solution to this is give every single player 20 Izawa shards with a compensation, and also change the Izawa event moving forward for new players and players that have it active already to be a permanent event that does not have a timer, so people can get into their game at their own pace, and if they You know, don't get lucky, they're not like massively screwed over or missing this character. And again, just getting Izawa is a fragment of like fully maxing out the character, because again, this is a game that requires 12 copies of the character to fully max out. Plus as well, you've got Izawa cards in the future. There are many ways that you can further monetize out Izawa if you please, but you should just give like free-to-play players and grinders a way to get one copy of him guaranteed, so they can have a little bit of fun. Like, that's all I'm asking. I think that's more than reasonable in my opinion. Also, one thing is, like, the whole stamina situation was not even close to fixed with the incredibly underwhelming changes dished out last week. And I think kind of the biggest way to address this is reducing or removing the daily supply stamina cost. So the big thing that like screws over stamina at the moment is you need so many credits, you need so much experience, and like farming all of this stuff literally takes like, what is it, 10 to 12 seconds per stage. So even adding 125 stamina daily, all you did was add on like 2 minutes of game time for most people, and those were like your big fixes which you announced, which really didn't resolve anything at all. So I think at least in my opinion, this cost should be like reduced by at least 80% or just completely removed. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous like how many credits you need and how much experience you need to level up characters past level 80. And if you think like level 80 to 90 is bad, or 70 to 80 is bad, like 100 to 120, dude, is just beyond ridiculous, man. There's so much stamina cost involved there. And there also needs to be a further increase to free-to-play coin gain. Again, if you're bringing down the pity to 60, I think that's a pretty good region, but the coin gain, because you do need stamina, you ideally do want cards as well, and cards are another system that requires anywhere between about 7 to 10 copies of that card specifically if you want to fully max it out. So yeah, it just needs to be a bit more exciting. If you're a free-to-play player in this game, you want to have a pretty much guaranteed chance to get the character. Plus on top of that, you also want to like do some card summons as well. So kind of featured events where you have like card summon tickets would be great as well, but like a general increase to free-to-play coin gain is something that needs to happen across the board. And also on global, there exists the skill tree talent cap for an S unit, and this is not on the Taiwanese version. So for example, if you have just one copy of All Might, you can only do, I believe it's like 2 branches, but if you get him like triple S plus, you can do all 3, plus on top of that, the secret talents as well. And like, talents take so long to grind out. The materials that you get in game via like, what is it, Super Co-op Battle, they take ages to accumulate, especially if you're like free to play or like mid game, because you're not in those higher brackets getting the crazy level. So yeah, this cap was put on. It's incredibly unnecessary and just further like screws over free-to-play even more. These talent caps of free-to-play, they just don't make sense in my opinion, because whales are already incentivized to like triple S plus, because the triple S plus abilities for like every character are absolutely broken. They just make them like, you know, anywhere between about 20 to 50 times better. So whales already have that really big incentive to just go crazy on any character that they're massively in love with. So there's no need to have a system like this that completely screws over free-to-play there. And also, and this is a big one, because again, I literally know like all of my whale friends, man, I don't know a single one that didn't choose to refund like within the last 48 hours. And this is if you really want to keep those big spenders moving forward, is any player that chose to and submitted their refund before the Endeavor refund announcement to not face bans or have their ban revoked. Again, you made this mess, man. You made this situation where the community lost absolutely all faith in you, and I don't think you can blame anybody that wanted to like bail their money out. Literally in the first 30 days of the global launch, every single big red flag was there for a pump and dump gacha game. You swindled the players, you falsely advertised, you nerfed characters before their release, you overpriced, you over monetized, you completely fucked over the free-to-play ecosystem and community. Literally everything was like screaming yesterday, like refund your money and get out of this game. We got no hope moving forward. And at least that's how I felt, and I know a lot of other people felt as well. It was just a crazy situation. And if you really want to kind of work to earn the money and commitment back for those players, you need to address these issues moving forward. You need to step it up. This is the time. If you really want this game to be in it for the long term, you've got to prove that it's in it for the long term by making some simple changes that make this game a lot more playable, a lot more fair for everybody out there. So I really hope that the developers are open to taking some very well-needed feedback at the moment, and that they are finally listening, but also taking action on big community frustration. Because the more you frustrate players, the more you fuck them over. This frustration just builds and builds up, and next thing you know, you've got the majority of your revenue refunded. You're tanking money like a bitch. Your game on the app stores just bombed down to below a 2 rating. It's completely screwed over your new downloads for the next couple of months, like massively impacted your existing revenue sources as well, all because you decide to be incredibly greedy and just dick over people constantly. So I must say, I appreciate this response. I think this is a good response to the situation. I think this is the right way and the perfect way to handle the Endeavor situation specifically, but it doesn't change all of the frustration that was built up by a variety of poor decisions before that, and it doesn't address kind of the underlying issues of what caused this frustration to get to this point. The Endeavor situation was a community frustration catalyst that I warned 3 weeks ago. If they didn't start addressing these issues and continue to fuck over the community, we'd reach this boiling point, and we reached it so damn quickly, man. And I'm disappointed we had to get here, but I'm glad we've had the situation in the last 24 hours. Hopefully the developers now understand, okay, we really need to rally moving forward and start making some phenomenal changes, because we have a lot of people to win back now. If we want this game to succeed in the longer term and not lose 90% of our player base by this time next month. So the ball is in their court. It's up to them. I'm interested to see what they do moving forward. And again, it's just unfortunate this situation had to happen, but I'm glad it's happened. I'm glad we're moving forward now, and hopefully we're really going to see some changes come in momentum. I'm still kind of on the fence of like whether or not I want to continue playing, but I want them to win me back and win the community back in the next week and a bit. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do moving forward. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and how you're feeling. I'm cynical, yet slightly optimistic that they finally realize exactly where they stand and what they need to do to really make this the best game possible moving forward. And I hope that that is the focus, instead of trying to overly monetize and squeeze out every single dollar that they can. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching today's breakdown and ramble. If you did enjoy it, please do smash that like button. That would be greatly appreciated. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.
You are not subscribed to the whale sin of spending? Who decided that? Subscribe now, or enjoy the bitter taste of regret. You are not subscribed to the whale sin of spending? Who decided that? Subscribe now, or enjoy the bitter taste of regret.